Welcome to The Real Deal with Jason Silverman, the podcast dedicated to helping you build the business of your dreams and live the life you always hoped for, with valuable and fun tips and info to make your life easier and more fun. And now, here's your host, a man who sprinkles metal shavings on his breakfast cereal just for fun, Jason Silverman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Real Deal with Jason Silverman. I'm your host, Jason Silverman, and I'm thrilled to share some time with you again today. As you know, I'm always on the hunt for interesting as well as super smart real deal guests. And I got to tell you, today's show is a grand slam home run. I want to introduce my listeners to somebody who's truly been there and done that. And I'm excited to pick his brain for your benefit and really for my benefit as well. Now, for the folks who I work with in any of my coaching programs, my mastermind group, or through Powerful Words character development, you know how much I focus on the importance of the customer, right? This show is going to help us to do just that. So today, it's going to be my honor and privilege to share an amazing resource with you. You're going to love today's guest. He's got a ton of valuable information about really a whole host of topics that really are the difference between mediocrity and success. So I want you to strap yourself in. Today's show is going to be a blast. As I'm sure you already know, I'm committed to helping business owners just like you to become more successful, enjoy your career more, and in general, make your life significantly more fun. You only get one ride on this merry-go-round, folks. Let's make sure it's one hell of a ride, shall we? Alrighty, boys and girls, it is now that time. I want you to stop surfing Facebook. Put away your phone, your tablet, your dog, your cat, your spouse, your child, anything that might possibly distract you from today's show. You're about to get some great and immediately implementable information. I don't want you to miss even a second of it. So, before we officially get going, let me give you a little bit of background about our special guest expert today. Peter Shankman is a multiple startup founder with several successful exits under his belt. He's a best-selling author focusing on the customer economy. He's the founder of Help a Reporter Out, the world's largest source journalist matching tool, and he runs Shankman's Breakthrough, a private online entrepreneur community with hundreds of members around the world, as well as Faster Than Normal, a leading ADD ADHD podcast, which I got to tell you, folks, if you work with kids, if you work with human beings, go listen to the podcast. Like every time it comes out, go listen to the podcast. That podcast focuses on the benefits of being gifted with ADD and ADHD. Also, you can find him over at www.shankman.com. Peter, thank you so much and welcome to The Real Deal. I'm thrilled to have you today.
Jason, great to be here. Great introduction, too.
Well, thank you. So, listen, before we officially get started, for those who haven't had the opportunity and pleasure of either meeting you, hearing you speak, listening to your podcast, or listening to any or reading any of your books, do me a favor, take a second, share your story with our listeners. Who are you passionate about? What makes you tick? Who is Peter Shankman?
Oh, God. That is always an interesting question that changes by the microsecond. I wasn't supposed to be doing any of this. I was in grad school. I was studying fashion and portrait photography. It was a great way to meet women. With about 18 credits to go, I lost my financial aid. The government sent me a letter that said, your parents make too much money. We're taking away your financial aid. I sent the government back a letter that said, my parents do make too much money, but they keep it. And government didn't find that funny. So I moved back to New York, was hanging out in a Melrose Place chat room on America Online in the mid-'90s, and someone in that chat room said, my company's trying to build a newsroom. Why don't you submit your resume? I had absolutely no experience. This will be great. 2 weeks later, I was being hired by America Online to become one of the founding editors of AOL News. And I put my journalism degree to some good use and helped launch the America Online newsroom. Was ridiculously made up the rules as we went along, and it was a lot of fun. Wound up leaving there, starting a PR firm back in New York, sold that during the height of the dot-com boom, consulted for several years, and eventually came up with this idea, Help a Reporter Out, that connected journalists with sources all around the world. That was acquired 3 years later by PR Newswire, and it's been a really fun ride. I've gotten really lucky. One of the reasons I realized that everything I was doing was because I have massive ADHD. Was diagnosed several times with it. Not until I was 35. I wasn't diagnosed until around 35, but obviously had it for years. And in school, it was just called sit down, you're obstructing the class disease. And it became this sort of massive wake-up call for me. I'm like, oh, wow, I can do all of this. This is incredible. And look at the ability I have to do this stuff. And, my brain works faster, and so I can do this. And so that, to me, was pretty awesome. And from that, launched a podcast called Faster Than Normal, where we talk to celebrities, CEOs, tons of people in different forms of power where they discuss their ADHD and how they believe it's benefited them. That led to a book published by Random House that came out about a month ago called Faster Than Normal, which was an Amazon bestseller, a multiple category Amazon bestseller. And I'm very lucky and having a lot of fun. I think that's the best way to put it.
It's interesting. There's a trend when I speak to uber successful people. It's amazing how many of them say they're lucky, and it's also amazing how many of them put the work in to be lucky.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that who was it? Abraham Lincoln, right, was quoted as saying, "I'm a big believer in good fortune, and I find that the harder I work, the more of it I have."
Yeah, well, that's clearly accurate. And I also feel like, the ADHD thing. It really you put a really great. I know you did a video on it. You did an article, maybe from Medium, on just the fact that it really is a superpower. And I know later in this interview I want to talk to you more about that. But that alone, as having family members with ADHD, that was a total paradigm shift. So. I know that wasn't the point of writing that article or doing the video, but that really changed how I view it. So thank you for that.
The problem is I think so many people spend so much time focusing on the negatives of ADHD, and it just drives me crazy because it's not level 4 Ebola, right? And if I gave you a Lamborghini and said, "Here, I'm going to take away the Honda that you've been using since forever, and I'm going to give you a Lamborghini," and said, you would be pretty happy with that. Well, that's what your brain is. Your brain is a Lamborghini, and you have a faster brain than normal people who are just driving a Honda. And so as long as you learn how to use it, you can really change the world. And so that's the key. And that's what I'm trying to get that message across, because I'm sick of kids being told that they're broken. Right? I'm sick of putting 5-year-olds on amphetamines because they're acting like, they're 5. And maybe instead of amphetamines, maybe we give them, protein, some eggs, instead of some chocolate frosted sugar bombs for breakfast. And then instead of sitting in front of the TV before school, let them run around for a little bit, and we see amazing differences.
Well, who was it? And I know I had him on the show, Dr. Hallowell.
Good friend of mine. Yep.
Oh, perfect.
Ed wrote the foreword to my book. Phenomenal man.
Truly is. His commentary was that ADHD was, like having a Lamborghini with bicycle
Ferrari
brakes.
brain with bicycle brakes.
Yep. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I clearly see it. So, in any case, we'll jump into that. But the first question I had for you, and I know because of the varied experience you have, I feel like your insight on this is going to be interesting. So, what would you say in your experience are a few of the biggest mistakes that you see companies making today in regard to how they both view and treat their clients?
I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing is that companies are still looking at customer service as a cost, right? As, well, we don't want to do that. It's going to cost too much. And the funny thing is it costs virtually nothing. And the concept behind that is very simple. We expect in any social or any customer situation, we expect to be treated like crap. Right? We expect our dry cleaning not to be ready when they say it is. We go on an airplane, if our flight takes off on time, lands on time, and we're not pulled off the plane by our nostrils, we're pretty excited about that. And oh my God, this was the best flight ever. Right? We're calling the best flight ever something where they didn't crash into a mountain and they did exactly what they said they'd do and nothing more. I don't need you to be amazing. I just need you to be a couple of levels above what we expect, and the bar is so ridiculously low that, you look at it's my favorite joke. 2 guys are running in the woods on a trail run, and they see a bear, and they freak out. The first one bends down very slowly, and he tightens up his running sneakers. Tightens up the laces, and it stands back up, and the second guy says, "Don't be crazy, you can't outrun a bear." The first guy says, No, I just need to outrun you.
Exactly.
Right? I don't need you to be awesome. I just need to be a little bit better than what people expect.
I know your M&M suggestion has worked just amazingly. I remember you posted it. It maybe it was a blog post a while back, and I read it, and I had a flight 3 days later, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to implement. We'll see what happens. And truly, truly amazing. Now, granted, they should have treated me wonderfully anyway, but what a difference. And again, both from their perspective, I'm sure they're used to being treated like crap as well.
Well, that's the thing. I don't need you to be awesome. I don't need you to be, so I show up on every airplane, and I bring M&Ms, and I give them to the lead flight attendant, and I go, hi, this is for everyone. Please share these with your coworkers. And I'm not, I fly 250,000 miles a year. I'm not looking for an upgrade. I'm not looking for I usually get that already. What I'm looking for is simply to make the cabin crew feel a little better. Why? Because the cabin crew has a crappy job to begin with, right? They have 250 people, the majority of whom have never flown before, or who go to grandma's twice a year and have no idea what to do. And they've already been told their luggage won't fit, and da da da. So here I am saying, you know what? I'm going to actually be the guy on the plane who does something nice for you, and it blows people away. And as soon as you do that, the flight attendants want to be nicer to everyone, and that's really the key. Can you be nicer to everyone? Can I do something that helps the entire plane essentially get an upgrade? And that's the only reason I do it. I'm not looking for anything. It's literally to make people have a nicer day.
For $10 worth of M&Ms, best investment you make all day.
No question about it.
That's brilliant. So tell me this, because when I one of the secrets I learned a long time ago was find an author, read one of his books. If you like it, go buy every book he's ever written.
Yeah.
Which is of course what I did, and of course, Your Faster Than Normal came out right after I got all the other ones. But I went through Zombie Loyalists, and I thought that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I'm hoping, you would share some of your top suggestions. How do folks, or where can folks start with both building and maintaining a loyal following of clients or prospects or whatever?
I think the best way to do that is you get the customers you want by being awesome to the customers you have, right? I don't think enough people realize that. Everyone runs out and says, look at how awesome we are, and they tell everyone else how awesome we are. Focus on the customers you have. Let them do your PR for you. I've said this before. No one believes how great you are if you're the one that has to tell them, right? So all I want you to do is I want you to be a little bit better than what people expect to the customers you already have. They, by default, will bring you the customers that you want. And they will do that, especially in this new economy in which we're in, where the entire world can go out and with one Instagram post, share how great you are, and then the network picks that up. So it's no longer about Yelp or TripAdvisor. It's literally about, if I have an amazing experience with your company, the simple act of going back there or taking a picture of it or whatever the case may be tells the network that I enjoyed it, and the network then by default will recommend that to friends when they're looking. When you land in Los Angeles and you live in New York and you live in LA and you turn on Facebook says, hey, you're at this hotel. There were 34 of your friends have eaten in restaurants around this area. 3 of them have been to steakhouses. We know you like steak. Do you want me to make your reservation at any of these? I trust that person a lot more than I trust a random review from Yelp.
Right.
And that's where we're going.
So you're being awesome. Can you give me an example of how can folks be awesome to their people? I mean, again, most of my listeners work in that after-school activity world where they're working with kids, they're working with parents. How can they be awesome, or even more awesome?
I think it's the little things, noticing what you work with parents, working with kids. What do the kids do? Can you get a digital camera and just take some fun photos for them? Right? Can you do little things that people otherwise wouldn't expect? That my kid, my 4-year-old goes to a school, and she has teachers who have this digital camera, and every day they take fun little things, they take fun little photos, and they send us out a cute little update. It's probably the only email I read, without a question immediately as soon as I get it, right? So what can you do for little things like that? What can you do to make the audience like what you're doing just a little bit more, say, wow, that was really decent of them. That was kind of them. I didn't expect that, right? And the flip side, a lot of times, it's also just as easy as being brilliant at the basics. I have, when my daughter first started this, kinder care, whatever, preschool, whatever it is, for a couple hours a day, it was the first time I ever had to give my daughter to someone else to watch, right? And I was a little freaked out about that. And, they seem really nice, and she seemed to enjoy it when she got home. And, we get a letter at the end of the day. Just want to let you know how awesome it was, what a great time we had with, and then they messed up her name.
Oh.
I'm like, okay. So, of course, I went, apoplectic on that. It's like, you had one goddamn job. How can I trust that you're going to do anything else right if you can't even get my daughter's name right? Jeez. Okay. But, again, that's, like I said, about the basics.
Well, and that also, if they can't get your daughter's name right to you, are they calling her Apollonia all day?
Exactly.
That would be my concern.
So,
oh my gosh.
Just this morning.
The shrink's couch are going to really add up after that.
Just this morning, I got an email. Got an email from someone. Of course, I screenshotted it, and it said, the subject line was, "It's so great it's so great to personally reconnect." And the first line of the email, "Hello, : first name, : It's so great to reconnect."
Oh, come on.
Sad trombone, right? Wah, wah, wah. Come on. God, it's not that hard.
It's that extra 2 seconds it takes to proofread your work.
Yep.
This is a conversation I'm having with my 8-year-old right now. As far as, it's an extra 30 seconds to review your work versus having to listen to the teacher tell you did it wrong.
Measure twice, cut once.
Very, very simple. That makes sense. So being awesome at the basics, I think, is brilliant. So after building so many successful businesses, offering a library of books, what are your biggest tips to small business owners who want to grow, who haven't really done anything past just doing the thing?
Get out of your comfort zone. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you have a company that's doing well and you're making money, that's great. It's easy, but it's easy to get complacent. Complacency leads to stagnation. Stagnation leads to failure. Right? So prevent that stagnation. What can you do? So I do several things which also help balance out my ADHD. I'm well aware that every morning I have to exercise before I even step out of my bedroom or before I talk to the world. I have to. So it is very important for me to do something to change my brain chemistry, right? That simple act of doing that gives me the dopamine, the serotonin I need to rock my day. As a business owner, I know that having done that will allow me to do better, as it were. What can you do to allow yourself to do a little better?
So it seems to be the consistent thread here is the incremental growth of the.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. Hey, I'm doing well. We're doing 5% better this year. Great, and you tend to get stagnant, right? Mm-hmm. Stagnation can kill you.
Wow. Okay, that totally makes sense.
And the thing is, I'm not. That's the other thing. I'm not asking you to go out and do whatever. I'm not asking you to change the world. I'm not asking you to go, run 600 miles before breakfast. I'm asking you to do something a little different that just changes up the things a little bit because the status quo is boring as hell.
Well, and I know, from what I've read, obviously, you're an Ironman athlete. Do you find that changing and focusing on your physicality has helped you, in the business world?
So funny. No question that it has, but it's just hysterical. I'm an Ironman athlete. I am in the respect that I finished an Ironman. So yeah, I guess I'm an Ironman athlete. But I look at some of the Ironman athletes who win the races, and I'm just like, well, I've competed in the same race as them. I joke that I don't finish with the Kenyans. I finish with guys named Ken, and it's just I like challenging myself, and I know I'm not going to win. For God's sake, my local running club is the New York Roadrunners, right? 8,000 people show up for a local 10K, including 18 Olympic winners. I'm certainly not going to win, but I also know I'm not going to come in last. So, you find that middle ground where you just know that you're doing something and you're pushing yourself. I don't need to beat everyone. I just need to beat myself yesterday. That's all. And I won't beat myself yesterday every single day, but I try.
Well, and on those days, this is probably a really important lesson. On those days where you don't beat yourself from yesterday, how do you move forward? How do you not curl into the fetal position and rock yourself and hum?
I have two choices. I can bitch about it or I can look forward. And I find that bitching about it, I allow myself to bitch about it for 5 minutes and I move on. Right? I give myself that 5 minutes, lock myself in a room, whatever. I don't post on social media, but I allow myself that 5 minutes and I just move on. Life's just too short, man. Life is really just too short. When I'm dead, I don't want to sit there and count them because I'm sure there's going to be a math test after I die, and it's going to be how many days did you spend, how many hours, minutes, whatever days did you spend bitching about stuff that you couldn't change? how much time do you spend just living your life? That's what I want to focus on.
Brilliant. I want to dive into your Faster Than Normal book, if you'd be willing to, because when you talk about the power and the gift of the ADHD brain, obviously you've already talked about getting that dopamine push in the morning by getting some exercise, but how were you able to use it, or how were you able to transform or realize that you could transform it from what so many consider to be a disability into your superpower?
Well, again, it really comes down to that having that faster brain. No one is going to not want a faster brain. And I think the key is to understand sort of what you're doing and how you can enjoy that faster brain. For me, I am really all about understanding these are my gifts, these are my skills, this is what I'm not good at, but here's the stuff I am good at. And I'm going to focus on the stuff I am good at and focus on using that every single day, because that's the stuff that's going to be a lot more fun for me, right? And the stuff that I'm not great at, I'm either going to allow other people to do, or I'll do it a little bit after I do other stuff. Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to do stuff that I love and stuff that I enjoy, because that's the stuff I'm best about, and that's the stuff I'm really good at.
Okay. That's fair. I guess the next part of my question, and this is really for so many of the folks who are listening who are saying, gosh, I have X percent of my student body has ADD, ADHD, LMNOP, whatever they've got. I'd love to know more about this as far as how to help them achieve more rather than to look at them. Because I'll tell you, I owned a martial arts school for 17 years. And I remember having kids and thinking, oh my gosh, like I have them for 45 minutes and I'm having a challenge. I'm not prepared for this. I wish there was a kind of continuing education that allowed me. Now, granted, I had a wife with a PhD in child development who, really could rock that. But as an instructor myself, I didn't have that. So, what can you share, or what do you feel like people need to know about these kids and teens so that they can look at them differently as opposed to somebody who's fidgeting or somebody who's like got super amounts of energy? How do we transform the paradigm that the instructor or the owner looks at them versus what they've been looking at them as?
Well, first and foremost is the concept that these children are not broken. They are not broken. They are not less than any other kids. And that is, I don't believe that can be repeated enough, right? Because, we're in a society where we're telling kids, you're different and different is wrong, and so let's put you on medication to make you like everyone else. And that is possibly the worst thing we could ever tell our children. Okay, what we should be doing is embracing what their differences are and why their differences are so awesome. Okay, do you really want, if you're running a company, Fortune 500 company, do you want everyone to be exactly like everyone else? How does that benefit your company? How does it allow your company to grow, come up with new ideas? Tell me that everyone at Apple is exactly like everyone else? I really doubt it. Right? So what can you do the first thing you can do is focus on these kids and let them understand they are not broken. They are not on the island of misfit toys. Their brains work differently, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that at all.
How do we help? Is there a way to help add to their focus so that, and is it maybe not adding to the focus? How do we help them grow the passion? Because what I've seen is, you tend to focus on whatever you want to focus on.
Right. Well, you got to find out what they love. Let them do more of that. I think that one of the best things you can do is allow the kids to jump up and down, get some exercise. Just because we've all sat in chairs and desks and not moved during class for the past 100 years doesn't mean it's the right way, right? And I am a huge fan of walking meetings. All my meetings are walking meetings, or they're stand-up meetings, or they're whatever. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. And so, what can you do to allow your students? There are college universities now that allow the kids to go to the back of the room, right? If your kid isn't focused, he can get up on his own, go to the back of the room, take a little break, walk around. He's still listening. He's just simply changing the chemistry in his brain. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm a huge believer that we need to be doing more of that. More of that, more of that, more of that. Definitely.
That's brilliant. I love that. And it's certainly something we've incorporated at home. So.
Oh, yeah. It's huge.
And it's also interesting, and I've actually watched, my son sit through and be fidgeting and doing all those things. And I'm thinking, come on, you're not focused, you're not listening. And then afterwards, he'll repeat exactly.
Oh, yeah.
In minute detail.
Yep.
I was like, oh, I didn't think you were listening. He was like, I was listening. It just didn't look. and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, right, because you could do 3 things at the same time. And you actually can do that.
That's awesome. I love that.
That's brilliant. All right. It's time for our resource of the week, Peter. So tell me this. How can my listeners find out more about you and your books and how you go about helping entrepreneurs to succeed?
Yeah, so my entire life is at shankman.com. That's my personal site. I would suggest checking out shankminds.com, which is our mastermind. And we actually have a mastermind event coming up, if any of them are in New York City, at shankminds.com/NYC. That's coming up in January. It's an all-day in-person event with 4 keynote speakers, including a former Navy SEAL and the business reporter at Mashable. It'll be pretty amazing. And I am at Peter Shankman on all the socials, and I encourage your listeners to reach out.
Fabulous, fabulous. All right. One of the ways I always love to end my podcast is this. If you could give business owners just one solid piece of advice to either help their business or, more importantly, help them to live a better life, what would that piece of advice be?
Stop chasing the likes and start doing more likable things.
Ooh,
is number 1. And number 2, if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you.
I love that. I absolutely love that. That's brilliant. All right. Fabulous. Yeah, if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. Brilliant. All right, folks. www.shankman.com. Head over to shankminds.com/NYC. Peter's got an event January 24th in New York City. I am going to bend over backwards to be there. And if you've not already grabbed his books, obviously you can buy them any place books are sold on this planet. Go grab fasterthannormalbook.com right now. Like, don't wait. Like, go over to Amazon and buy it right now. It's one of those things, especially for owners, coaches, instructors. I want you to read that, both for yourself as well as I want you to think about who you could help within your gym, within your school, within your academy. By having this information, you're better armed to help them better succeed. So that's where I want us to go. All right. Peter, thank you so much for joining me today. I know you're back on the road to the airport, so thank you for sharing some of your time and a whole bunch of your wisdom with us. This has been fabulous.
Pleasure was mine. Anytime.
Alrighty, folks, that's all the time we've got today. Thanks so much for tuning into The Real Deal with Jason Silverman. For more info about private coaching or to see if you'd benefit from one of my mastermind groups, visit me over at www.jasonmsilverman.com. I look forward to helping you achieve the success that you truly deserve. Until next time, let me leave you with this. Get out there and be the real deal. Set a goal, make a plan, work like hell towards it, and achieve the success that's waiting for you. Now's the time. Get out there and make it happen. This has been Jason Silverman, and I hope you have a spectacular week.
You've been listening to The Real Deal with Jason Silverman. To access the great resources mentioned in the show and for information on coaching and mastermind group opportunities with Jason, please visit jasonmsilverman.com.